Welcome to This Week in Morgan County. I'm your host, Russell Mokhiber. Our guest this week is the Sheriff of Morgan County, KC Bohrer. KC, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you're running again for sheriff.
I am. I'm just filed today to campaign for re-election to the post that I currently hold.
You, born and raised in Morgan County. Give us a little bit, in a nutshell, your life's history.
Born and raised in Morgan County, worked here for almost a year, and then I left for the West Virginia State Police Academy through the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department. I worked there for 28 years and retired as the captain. Had the opportunity to retire and go to work in Virginia doing essentially the same thing. So I went to Virginia working, a lot of my career was investigations of major crimes and drugs. Went there and was assigned out to the FBI as a task force officer. And for a period of time, I worked human trafficking cases, crimes against the elderly, and I was fortunate enough to be selected to attend the FBI National Academy in 1995, where I graduated. Had a wonderful career, and it was time that I could come back to Morgan County and give back to my community what I had been blessed to receive.
And you ran in 2016 against two other candidates.
I did.
You won that election. Was that the first time you've also worked in Berkeley County, right?
I retired from the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department after 28 years.
Okay. And you're running again. Give us some of the highlights of your 4 years in office here.
3 years at this point in time,
okay,
but
yeah.
yes. Well, one of the greatest achievements is we have worked very hard and diligently to reduce drug-related crime in Morgan County. Happy to report that we have seen some significant differences. We've taken out some major dealers. Drug overdoses are on the downswing, and a lot of the reports of this is on the downswing, so we're happy about that. We recently were able to work with the County Commission this year and obtain a newly remodeled sheriff's station, which gave us a lot of the tools that we didn't have that we needed, with evidence rooms, a garage for evidence processing, an impound yard, more room for the officers to work, meeting room, training room, a lot of things that we were lacking. So we're hoping to have a dedication soon for that, but we're really happy with that facility.
Where's the new sheriff's office?
The new sheriff's office is the former Dr. Hashem Valley Health Building up behind McDonald's on the hill on Gale Drive.
All right. And what's going to happen with the old sheriff's office?
Well, that's sort of a really great thing. I was on the 911 Advisory Council, and we sorely need a new 911 emergency center. And as we were looking at this back last spring, we realized that the cost of a new building was going to be about $1 million. So I'd been home one night and was thinking about that and cost, and came up with an idea to present to the county administrator, Ms. Alamong, and the county commission to give our building, which was suitable for 911 EOC center, and allow us to go to the Gale Drive location and save about $1 million and give us things that we needed in the Sheriff's Department, and also be able to have a new 911 center that we hope to have within the next year.
Okay, now the election's coming up. The election is May 12th.
Yes.
There's at least one opponent, Vince Shambaugh, who's a former sheriff.
Yes.
And what do you anticipate the issues of the election will be?
I don't know what issues the election would be. At this point in time, my platform, if you will, is to be that to continue the progress. The Sheriff's Department's in much better shape now than it was when I became sheriff. We've made some great strides. We've added some programs. I ran the last time on professionalism, accountability, and communication. And I'm very proud that my staff and I have attained all the goals and promises that I have. But there's more work to be done. There's more things that we can do. So I'm hoping to have the second term to continue the progress.
How many, give us a little bit about the Sheriff's Department. How many employees are there? What's the budget?
Well,
what generally is what is the money spent on?
The budget's about $1 million between the divisions. We have 3 actual units within the Sheriff's Department, actually 4. We have law enforcement, which is the most noticeable, myself and the deputies. We have the Court Security Division, which those officers provide court security and bailiff duties at the courts and at the county courthouse. We have the Tax Department, which collects the taxes for the county. And then we have community service. And we're really proud of our community service program. Our director, Randy Stotler, does a fantastic job. And we saved thousands of dollars. We came in under budget for the new Sheriff's Department. We were able to do that for about $150,000 when we were budgeted $200,000. A lot of that had to do with Randy and his crew of community service workers who did a lot of the demolition, painting, and different things for us there. And then we have our civilian staff. I have 2 secretaries in law enforcement. Miss Michael has been there, I think, 37 years. She's the heart and soul of the Sheriff's Department. And Miss Spiker, and then Chief Deputy John Walters, who helps manage the department with me. John is a 29-year veteran officer coming from D.C. Department, Metropolitan D.C. John was born and raised here, and like me, came back to the community because he wanted to take what he had to give back. Kim Michael is our Chief Deputy at the Tax Department. Has been there a long time, does a fantastic job. We are allotted 12 deputies, but the majority of the time we never have 12 due to military deployments and training and sick leave and other issues. Our staff is not always full staff.
So how many staff are there? How many deputies are there usually on, in Morgan County working?
At all times or during the day or whatever?
Well, just on average per day.
On average, 2. One of my goals of coming into office, and the officers told me that they had to work by themselves a lot before. And we know crime and we know the violence in society today. And I won't say never, but the majority of the time we always have at least 2 officers working. That way we can cover the county better and we have more manpower to back each other up for the violent encounters and things that often happen.
Now, you opened by talking about the crackdown on drug-related crime.
Yes.
What is the evidence that, in fact, things have improved since 4 years ago?
Well, one of the greatest things that I find is we don't get the amount of reports. I don't receive the calls. I don't receive the reports from the public as to the frequency of drug dealers and drug problems. It's diminished. It's not gone. Obviously not gone. There's more work to be done, but it's lessened to what it was when I came into office.
The last we interviewed you, you said that when you came into office, there were about 10 to 12, I believe you said something like 10 to 12 overdose calls to your office a month.
Yes.
And what is it today?
Some months we haven't even had any. I would say an average of probably 1 a month.
And how did you go from that? What was the program that you implemented to move in that direction?
We began to work on the major dealers. We began to work partnerships with a lot of good people, partnering with the Day Reporting Center, which we've had for a year now. So we have folks who are addicted to opioids and other drugs that we have a place to refer them to help them to be successful. Life for Drugs, that program, we work with them quite extensively. So there's resources now for the addict. That's been a great help. I implemented a program where all of our officers were trained in the use of Narcan. To date, we've had 4 officer saves where officers have responded and arrived first and saved a life.
Tell us what is Narcan and how it saves lives.
Narcan is a opioid interceptor which can be administered to someone who's overdosing to save their life. Being a rural county, sometimes our officers are closer than medics are to a given situation. In the 4 saves that we've had since I've been sheriff, our officers have been able to respond, administer the Narcan, and save the life until medics get there.
There've been a lot of accidents on 522. I don't know, are you sensing there's more vehicular accidents and deaths on 522 than in the past?
Most definitely. Last year, I believe we had 6 fatalities. The previous year, we didn't have any. Anyone who lives in this town or drives on 522 realizes the impact that traffic has on our community. I call 522 Interstate 522 because of the truck traffic and the volume. On particular holidays, Friday nights and things, you'll see traffic back up 3 and 4 miles out of town. You didn't used to see that, and it's gotten worse since I've been back. Obviously we have a bypass coming. That's going to probably provide some relief, but it's also going to enhance traffic. As more people are probably going to travel Route 522 between 81 and 70 because they can get through town faster. So we have a lot of problems with speeding, distracted driving, driving under the influence of both alcohol and drugs. One thing I'm particularly proud of is in 2018, the Governor's Highway Safety Program realized that the 3 sheriffs in Eastern Panhandle were working together so well that they provided us with state-funded officers. Jefferson County got 2. Berkeley County decided not to take the program, and we were able to hire a deputy that's almost solely funded by the state of West Virginia to do nothing but highway safety work. So that's been a big plus, and I think it's probably helped us. However, the increase in the volume of traffic and things, it's probably offset it somewhat.
There's also, the Sheriff's Department isn't the only law enforcement in town. You have the state police, you have the town police forces.
Yes.
Tell us about the interaction between state and town police forces.
Well, we've covered both towns quite a lot because there's only one police officer in the town of Berkeley Springs, and there's only one in Paw Paw. Pardon me. When you work 40 hours a week, there's a lot of periods of time where there's no coverage. So the Sheriff's Department picks up that coverage. So we do respond to a lot of calls and handle a lot of calls in both towns. And that's more taxing on, obviously, our complement of manpower. State police has a sergeant and 3 troopers in the county. You can imagine how far 4 people go. So there's a lot of gaps, but we work quite well together. We respond to calls. Calls are given out in this community as any state or county unit available for, and then whoever's available or whoever's closest answers up. So, we partner very well with them, and thankfully we're able to do that to be more efficient.
There were a couple high-profile tragedies in Morgan County
Yes.
in the last couple of years. One was the murder of Riley Crossman.
Yes.
What can you tell us? That made national news.
Yes.
And the trial is coming up. Can you tell us anything about that case and the upcoming trial that we should know about? I
can't. That's a pending criminal case, and we've worked quite well with when that case became a case. I realized in the dynamics of it, I had the ability to reach out to my former colleagues and partners and bring in a lot of folk from the task force, the state police, and the FBI to help us. That was a very large, involved investigation. And through that, we partnered and we did quite an extensive investigation. It's now in the hands of Prosecuting Attorney Jan James, and we continue to work with him daily to make preparations for that and what we need to do. The one thing that I will say about that case is it was very appreciated by me to see the community support, see how the community came together. Riley Crossman became actually, I think, Morgan County's daughter, if you will. It tugged at all of our heartstrings because we wanted to find her and have justice in that case. But the community really supported us and came together and helped us in our investigation and our efforts to search for her.
Will you be testifying at that trial?
That's up to the prosecuting attorney. I doubt it. I have to now, as sheriff, remove myself from direct investigations. I have to be the manager. So I had to manage resources and people and things of that nature. So that was my role in that, to bring in National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to come in and help us. So that would be up to the prosecutor, but I'm not really an integral investigator in that case.
There was also, when is that trial, by the way?
I don't know.
Okay.
The indictment just came down in January, so that'll be up to the courts.
Okay. There was also a tragic death on 522 that was the result of a reckless driver and a police chase. And I did a little research on police chases. Some jurisdictions prohibit them because often they result in tragic deaths.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? Should police chases be prohibited?
No, I don't believe they should be prohibited totally. Having been in law enforcement for over 4 decades now, there was a time when police pursuits were not regulated whatsoever. Now they are, and there's a lot of consideration taken into frequency of traffic, obviously the offense at hand, and then also the abilities of the officers, the time of day, and a supervisor, someone else who has the ability to regulate that. If the law enforcement, we don't refer to it as chase. Our job is to apprehend criminals. And sometimes the apprehension involves pursuit with a vehicle to try to apprehend a criminal. Sometimes it's on foot. And if the criminal element knows that the police are hamstringed and can't take efforts to apprehend them, what lawlessness might be increased.
And let's get back to, I'm interested also in getting back to the problem of the drug epidemic in West Virginia, but in Morgan County. There's obviously the macro issue of apprehending drug dealers.
Yes.
But what about the bigger issue of the bigger factors that drive drug abuse, like poverty, poor education, that kind of thing? What, do you have any sense of what can be done on that front?
Quite a bit. Governor appointed me to the Governor's Council on Substance Abuse last January. And I've served on that for the past year with many professionals, state of West Virginia, from the universities to the pharmaceutical board to criminal justice to the U.S. Attorney's Office. There's a whole collective body of probably 24 people involved. We have put together a strategic plan which is going to the legislature this month. It's a comprehensive plan to, if you will, address this problem from many different avenues, from investigation and apprehension to education to substance abuse treatment to decriminalization in some areas where certain folks can still maybe be arrested for substance abuse or illegal possession, depending on the limitations, and still obtain their driver's license so they can go to their DRC center and they can go to work and they can still be a productive member of society while they're rehabilitated. It's a great plan. There's a lot of good people that put things into it, and now it's up to the legislature to decide what portions they will adopt and when.
There's litigation against the big drug companies that dump millions of these pills into West Virginia, and there's a lot of money coming, similar to the tobacco settlements.
Yes.
It's coming to West Virginia, and a lot of that will go to the counties. Do you have any sense of how that money will be spent at the county and state level, and whether Morgan County could benefit from some of those funds?
I think we definitely benefit from it. The DRC Center, we've within a year's time, that program, and Stephanie Nichols has administered very well to that. We didn't have it before. People were assigned to Martinsburg, and oftentimes just the sheer dynamics of travel prohibited people from getting help. So I think that money could be used to fund more programs, possibly fund more education in schools. And also it's a dual-pronged approach. Then it could also fund law enforcement investigation of, I call them the profiteers, the people who really don't care about selling drugs to people who are addicted, and all they care about is the profit, the dealers.
Are there term limits on sheriffs?
There are. A sheriff is allowed to succeed himself one time.
And if you win this election, will that be the end of your career after you serve another 4 years?
When you say that, I get a lump in my throat. It will. My hope and prayer is to be able to finish my career serving my home county. At the end of that career, I will have 47 years in law enforcement, and it will be time for me to retire finally.
Okay.
I haven't retired since my 18th birthday.
Wow.
And I'm proud of my career.
Well, congratulations on your career, no matter what way this election turns out. The election is the primary election is May 12th.
Yes.
And Republicans and independents can vote in that election.
Yes, non-party affiliates, Republicans can vote.
Right. So May 12th, and we look forward to that, and we'll be covering it closely. Thank you so much, Sheriff
Thank you
Bohrer.
for having me. It's an honor to be here.
And thank you for watching This Week in Morgan County.